Hey everybody, this is Gregory from Dapp University. So in this video, I want to talk about why I hate blockchain programming. So before we get into that, be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and click the like button down below. And also, if you're interested in learning how to build blockchain technology and you're frustrated while you're doing that, like me, you can download my courses for free on my website over at dappuniversity.com/free download. So let's talk about why I hate blockchain programming, right? So I'm kind of making this as a rant video, at least that's kind of what I'm thinking now, but there's a lot of value in this, right? I'm going to talk about some lessons that I've learned, and part of the reason I'm making this is even kind of talk myself off the edge of a cliff, right? I'm kind of giving myself a little bit of a pep talk, and hopefully this will help you because you might have come to see some of the same kinds of frustrations when you're trying to build blockchain technology, right? So I'm going to talk about, why I hate blockchain programming. And really what I mean by that is all the frustrations that I encounter, right? But with all these frustrations, here's the value. All these frustrations, there's a plus side. There's a positive side to all these things. With the bad comes the good, and the good comes the bad. They're kind of two sides of the same coin. I want to talk about both of those. So be sure to stick around for the rest of the video so you can hear kind of both sides of each frustration that I'm having. So, I'm making this video because, I've been working on some projects that have I've had a lot of frustration on. There have been some challenges that we've had to put a lot of heads on, try to overcome, things that we didn't want to do, have to take a step back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, it can be very frustrating. And that's why I say, I hate blockchain programming. But also at the same time, I love blockchain programming. And there's lots of reasons why, right? I do believe in the technology. I think it is an amazing piece of technology that's, continuing to grow and gain adoption and solve real world problems, right? And I, think that you shouldn't necessarily always just be doing things that are easy in life, right? You should look for things that are rewarding. And the things that are rewarding are usually challenging. They're usually hard. They usually come with pain that you have to overcome. And you get a lot of that with blockchain development, right? You find yourself banging your head against a wall, getting stuck, getting frustrated, but usually you have a breakthrough. And usually you have, some sort of sense of accomplishment if you stick it out, right? And that sense of accomplishment, once you solve the problem or create some sort of app, it pays back for all the frustration that you went through to cross that gap, to get the knowledge and to actually make the thing that you're trying to make. So that's why I like blockchain programming, right? So don't get me wrong, I don't completely hate it, but I do want to talk about some of my frustrations so that I can help you, right? So that you might gain something out of the good side, which I'm going to tell you about. So we're very early with this technology, and that's one of the biggest frustrations. And a lot of the frustrations I have come with the developer tools, right? Now, I want to be very careful when I talk about this because I know some of you out there watching are working on the tools that are a part of our ecosystem, right? And I'm very thankful for everyone who's contributed to the open source projects and all the frameworks, all the libraries that are out there, because without you, we would not be anywhere close to where we are right now, right? But I think as a developer, we have to be honest and say that, we're just not quite as far along and mature as other ecosystems, right? And that's okay. It's not a criticism of anyone. It's not a criticism. Well, it's not a final criticism of condemnation towards anyone. It's really just an observation, right? And it's a reality, right? So we're kind of just are where we are. Developing with the tools is hard. This is evident for lots of reasons. One of the biggest reasons is, I find myself writing code to do routine things over and over again that, sometimes should just be available, inside, easily, right? In other places. I kind of find myself writing code to do workarounds. And, I just get frustrated by these things. These are things that I don't want to have to write code for. It's extra work for me. It's extra, it's just a lot of extra effort. And also, I get frustrated when things change all the time, right? See, your version changes happen like crazy, and then versions get deprecated like crazy, really fast. And there's a plus side to that too, right? It means that this tech is growing and developing very rapidly, right? And that's good because that means we're getting better things all the time, but it means our old versions of things don't work. I mean, you can see tutorials that are only a few months old in this channel that you can't run anymore without updating the code just because the versions aren't supported. It deprecates so fast. And I find this challenging when I go work on a client project, and we work on something for, several weeks and we come back a few months later or even just 6 weeks later. And, there are problems with the old versions of our code, trying to get them to work with current versions of the tools and things like that. And even just like the blockchain explorers like Etherscan, like trying to verify a smart contract that you've compiled in an old version of Solidity and things like there's just so many things. It just feels like you're trying to take a step and the rug sort of gets pulled out from underneath your feet as you're trying to, walk. So why is this good, right? That's the bad side. So why is it good that we're early and the tools are hard to use? Well, part of this is you'll get so much more depth of knowledge, right? If you have to write things yourself, you will understand more intimately the things that you're working with, right? So that is a good thing that I have to remind myself, even though I get impatient and get frustrated that I find myself writing code to do routine things over and over again. And part of the good thing about being an early adopter and being, working with sort of edge technology is it's going to scare a lot of people away. Like a lot of people are not going to want to come in and use this kind of stuff. And why is that good? It's good for you because if you can master it and you can grasp the skills, that just means that you're providing value and you're standing out where it's not very crowded, right? You're standing out where it's not very crowded. And that means that you're going to have, value to offer the world, and you're not going to be many other people who are competent like you are, and there's going to be a lot of demand. So that's good for you as a developer, just for simple economic reasons. I mean, you can be compensated better, just plain and simple. So what's another reason that blockchain programming is so hard and why I hate it, quote unquote, right? Well, immutability in one word. And what does that mean? Well, it means that, something can't be changed. And that's sort of the whole paradigm of blockchain technology with smart contracts and transactions and things like that. Once it's on the blockchain, it's on the blockchain forever, right? And this is a real challenge when you're developing because everything has to be so much more methodical. You have to think through everything 10 steps ahead like a game of chess. And you have to be slow. You can't always just push things, out really fast to the main network. And I find myself sort of pushing back with clients who are new to the blockchain space a lot because they're used to other development environments where you can just, push things around, fix bugs, and just try to get stuff out there fast and get feedback. Well, you can't always do those types of things the same way. I mean, you can move fast, but you can't. It's definitely a different way of thinking about the development life cycle as a blockchain developer when you're building blockchain technology, right? So why is this good? Well, it is a double-edged sword. And if you do have to be more methodical, it makes you think differently. Like most software developers are sloppy. Most of them, well, I don't say most. I don't want to say most if it's not most. A lot, right? A lot of blockchain developers, developers in general can be sloppy because there's not a whole lot of consequences for your mistakes when you're just kind of, in development mode and just pushing things around, right? And these habits become deeply ingrained that we just kind of push things out there and just see what happens. But you have to change your mindset to become more like a carpenter or like an airline pilot or a surgeon. So you kind of have to measure twice and cut once, right? You have to really know that what you're going to do is what you're going to do. You have to commit and, just pull the trigger, so to speak. So that's the good side, is you have to be more methodical, you have to be more careful, and it forces you to really be a better craftsman as a developer. So the other reason this is good is it's a double-edged sword, and that's what makes the blockchain so revolutionary, to be perfectly honest. It makes it trustless. The fact that you have this immutable ledger that can't be manipulated is what makes blockchain, just blockchain. It makes it awesome. It makes it different from just a database or another network that you would just use on the internet. So the last reason why I hate blockchain programming and why it's so hard is learning is hard. It really is. I mean, it's one of the reasons that I created this YouTube channel and my website and all this stuff is because I saw how hard it was. And it seemed like a great opportunity to help other people overcome that frustration, overcome that difficulty. So it's hard because honestly, the resources are so scarce. And like I said earlier, the technology moves so fast, it gets so updated that, resources on how to use the new stuff it's just scarce. Like you can't put out documentation, you can't put out tutorials as fast as the tech changes. You just can't do it. So you have to find out a lot of stuff on your own. I mean, like me, when I was learning blockchain technology, there's hardly any tutorials out there, right? There was hardly any resources available. I mean, I had to learn really the hard way, which is to teach myself to bump into walls, read as much documentation as I could, find maybe a couple tutorials. So why is this good? Well, when you have to dig things out for yourself and research and kind of learn the hard way, there are some benefits that come that you really can't get any other way. You do get this kind of intimate knowledge that comes from just sort of bumping into walls and running into corners. And I almost find that when I learn things this way, I almost never forget it. And I think part of that, I'm no psychologist, I'm no scientist, but I think part of that is because of just sort of the almost like mental and emotional pain that you experience whenever you have to learn something the hard way. I almost feel like, for me at least, like it sort of binds it to my memory. Like if you've ever been scared or had a traumatic experience, you remember those things for a long time. There's almost like this small element of trauma that you get when you have to really get frustrated. I almost never forget the things that I learned that way. So that's one thing. And you get this depth of knowledge. It gets seared into your memory. And, I create a lot of free content in this channel, but still, like I said, so much stuff changes that you often have to go look up other things yourself that you can't just find. So another reason that it's good, right, is that it is abstract, right? It's different from other, types of programming, other types of development, and it's real paradigm shift. But why is that a good thing? Because that's a sign of novelty. That's a sign that the blockchain really is a unique piece of technology that solves a real-world problem in a new way. And that's a sign that you're in a good place, that you're working with something that, doesn't make perfect sense to everyone the first time. That kind of goes back to what I was saying before about being ahead and being an early adopter and doing something that most people will just sort of look at and not make sense of the first time. It's really a good thing for you. It gives you a competitive edge. So that's a summary of why I get so frustrated with blockchain programming, why I hate it. But also remember, like I said, I do really love blockchain technology. I love blockchain programming. It's just challenging, right? And it has a lot of pain, but when you overcome all that pain and frustration, there's a reward waiting for you if you just stick it out, right? And that reward, usually back pays for all the frustration and pain you had to go through to get there. So if y'all like this video, I hope this was helpful. I know some of you probably are experiencing the same kinds of things. I hope this helped kind of shed some light onto some of that, maybe help a little bit. So again, be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already and click the like button down below. And also, if you're interested in learning how to build blockchain technology and become a blockchain developer and learn blockchain programming, you can download my courses for free on my website over at dappuniversity.com/free download. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.